What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. A lot of outlets right now are reporting that the Real Housewives of New York City might be the first Real Housewives franchise to include a male cast member. All of this started when insiders told the Straight Shutter podcast that producers wanted to update Real Housewives of New York City by including a man on the cast. This source was quoted as saying, "At the moment, nothing is off the table. Producers are always looking to tinker with the formula to make sure the show doesn't get stale. Over a decade ago, the show was focused on casting married ladies with children. There was an outrage when Bethany Frankel, a single lady without a child, was cast. Now most of the women are not even housewives." It's also important to note that just because they want to add a man to the cast doesn't mean that he will necessarily be gay. He could be gay, it's still a possibility, yes, but he could also be a man whose wife is the breadwinner of the family. I know a lot of things have changed in life and it's all good in the hood, but like, to me, just the idea of a man joining the show, like a straight man who's married to a high-powered woman, and all he does all day is hang out with the Real Housewives of New York City, like, to me, that is just so, like, it makes me uncomfortable. It really does. And it makes me feel secondhand embarrassment for the man and his wife, like whoever would agree to do this, because it is just so weird. It's not the fact that he's a kept man, it's the fact that he wants to spend his days doing the Real Housewives of New York City. These women do very intimate things together, right? Like, sometimes they go and get those spa treatments for the vagines, like they go and get like fillers together, they get manicures. So like, a man being thrown in the mix to me is just plain weird. I have come to accept the fact that I will never be progressive enough that a man walking around fighting with women, you know, will sit right with me. It makes me uncomfortable. And how awkward would it be on like cast trips where they're all going to hotels and stuff and there's like a man there, or when they have like events where they bring their significant others, all the women bring their boyfriends, husbands, or whatever, and then this man brings his wife and she can't get involved in all of their fights, you know? And it's just, something about it weirds me out. It's just like the whole Peter trying to fight with the women on Real Housewives of Atlanta, how just like wrong it looked for him as a man to be involved like that, and the fact that he wasn't even with the circle. And so like, with that kind of being flipped on its head, if a man were to join with a wife and the wife couldn't get involved in fights amongst women, she had to let her husband fight with women, like for himself, like it's just freaking weird to me, and I hope I'm allowed to feel that way, but it is what it is. I just feel like a man completely shifts the energy of a room full of women, so I'm not down with this idea, whether it's like a super feminine guy or it's like a super masculine guy. It just does not work for me. And I also find it offensive because Real Housewives of New York City, being based in like the most diverse city on the planet, and not really having any women of color cast on the show. Like, they had Jules one season, who is Eurasian. She was half Asian and half white, but like, they never really went beyond that, and she only got one season on top of that as well. So the fact that they would skirt casting, you know, women of color on the show, let's get a black woman on the show, let's get another Asian woman on the show, let's get a Latina woman on the show, like, let's, you know, mix it up a little bit more. They would prefer to throw off the whole entire dynamics of a show for women, about women, by including a man. Like, that just turns me all the way off, and I feel like it says all that needs to be said about what it is to be a woman of color sometimes, because this is downright ridiculous to me. As much as I love the Real Housewives, I've always been turned off by how segregated it was, and I feel like this is the perfect opportunity to really spice things up. This season's cast included Bethany, Sonia, Ramona, Luann, Dorinda, and Tinsley. With Bethany being off the show for the next season, I think they could have chosen a woman of color for her role. And I also wouldn't really mind seeing Tinsley being demoted to like a friend of the Housewives and being replaced with someone else as well. And I also wouldn't really mind seeing one of the other girls being demoted to a friend of the cast, so that, you know, we can kind of bring in another woman of color. It's always just one in each cast whenever they do it, but I would love to see like a little bit more, you know, effort than that. And Tinsley, I like her a lot too, and I really like her style. style, but she's just such a whiny baby. She's always crying about nothing, and I would not mind seeing her being demoted as well. You guys, what do you think about the idea of the Real Housewives of New York City potentially bringing a man onto the cast before they would ever bring another woman of color? Does it offend you at all? Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and as usual, we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.